I bought this dresser at an auction for $6. It's in mostly good condition, but it's got these obnoxious stickers on the front. And they don't want to come off. They are so stuck on this dresser that they are taking off the finish. So I'll take them all off and then stand back and assess the damage they've done. I can tell you with absolute certainty that I am not keeping these wooden knobs, but I will keep the hardware screws and put them in the boneyard for a future project. I tried sanding this, but it didn't come off at all, so I took my scraper and I just scraped off the laminate sticker, or whatever you want to call that thing. Annoying is what I call it. After scraping clear all of the dresser drawers that had the sticker damage done on them, I took my rotary sander with the 180 grit paper and just sanded smooth any of the areas that I gouged when I was scraping. This dresser has a really shiny, slick finish. So in that case, I could have put a bonding primer on it, but I decided to go with a really good scuff sand. I'm using a 180 grit sandpaper and just working out my frustrations. It's really therapeutic. After I got this all sanded and cleaned, I got down, I was ready to paint this side, and I realized that the corner was knocked off of it. So now I'm going to get my wood filler and rebuild the corner. So this is me cutting a corner. Get it? I should be using something strong like Bondo on this corner and not a wood filler. And you'll see why in a little bit. There's also this fun little gouge on the top of the dresser. And I'm just going to put a little bit in there too. I'll sand this corner smooth and then add just a little bit more of the wood filler. Originally, I went with a paint I don't normally use. It's more of an acrylic based, and I didn't like the way the white was going on the piece. I've used their other colors and it worked out great, but this white just was not covering on this piece. I gave it 3 coats and it still needed at least a 4th, if not a 5th. So I called it and went back to what I know and love, which is Dixie Belle's chalk paint line, and I ended up spraying this piece in their color Cotton. I've used other colors with this paint line before and they worked out great. It was just that this white was not covering on this piece. And I'm a 2-coat coverage kind of girl. Here's where I decided to get a little fancy with the top of this piece. I used Dixie Belle's Voodoo Gel Stain in Black Magic and White Magic. I mixed them together to create a gray. They have a gray, I just didn't have it in my arsenal, so I'm mixing the colors to create a gray. Then I'll grab my wood grain tool and go up and down to create a wood grain pattern on the top of this piece. This is a really easy process. It's a quick way to get a wood grain look without actually going to the work of getting one. And I can't tell you at exactly what point I decided that I hated this, but it was before I finished the top. So now I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go ahead and keep it, if I'm going to do something different. I'm not sure. Things pretty much started heading south the second I pulled that first sticker off, and they're not about to change. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to cut my foot or any fingers off, but I did realize I didn't want to go to the trouble of building out that corner on the right-hand side where it was already knocked free as much as it was on the left-hand side. So I just cut the left-hand side down to match what I had repaired on the right-hand side. And then, because I'm stubborn and I didn't want to wait until my husband got home to help me, I moved this outside by myself and busted off what I had repaired. Big sigh. Now is when I've decided to turn it on its back and cut the whole base off.
This is either going to be great or a complete train wreck.
These squatty little pieces of wood were actually screwed into the base of the inside of the dresser, so I had to unscrew those first before I could get that little broken piece off. A reciprocating saw makes this job really easy, especially if you have a fully charged battery on your battery-powered device. Now, if you don't, then it's going to die on you in the most inconvenient area, like this one. Yeah, right there. That's where it completely died. On to battery number 2 while charging battery number 1. One of my favorite things about using a reciprocating saw is that I can interchange it with whatever blade I want to. Most of the blades are universal per whatever brand of tool you're actually using. I mean, you always want to make sure, of course, that it's going to match up, but most of them match up. And let's just take a quick minute to appreciate the fact that I'm doubling up on my eyewear. Now back to blade talk. So I liken the teeth on these blades to sandpaper, whereas if you use a lower grit sandpaper or a lower TPI, which stands for teeth per inch, on these blades, then it's going to be rougher. That's what you use to cut through wood.
Like butter.
To cut smooth metal, you would want to use a higher grit or higher TPI on these teeth. You can tell I use sandpaper more than I use these blades. And just like that, we've killed battery number 2. But I definitely have the cure-all for this buzzkill, and that requires power. Plug it in, plug it in. Yeah, that was slightly aggressive, but that's the move. I'm spraying Dixie Bell's chalk paint line in the color Cotton. I've mixed it in my Harbor Freight sprayer. It's about their $100 or so range sprayer. I'm using 4-part paint to 1 part water. I mixed it really, really good in a cup and then poured it over a strainer into my sprayer because you don't want any crusties in there. And then I just got to spraying. I sprayed a clear coat on off camera, and now I have reattached the hardware on the doors and will reattach the doors to the piece. Now you want to see something that'll tick you off? This piece was missing a bunch of screws, so I grabbed some that were similar, but then they poked almost all of the way through, just enough that I'm going to have to do some repair work. More repair work. I'd love to tell you that this is all I had to do to patch that up, but it looked like a 2-year-old did it, so I ended up completely sanding the entire side off, repainting, resealing. That meant I had to take all the hardware back off and put the hardware back on with the right size screws, but that's what I ended up doing because I do want this piece to not look like my 2-year-old patched it. I've ordered some drop-dead gorgeous legs along with the hardware for this dresser, and so it's time to put them on. We have to flip it over on its head so that we can get to its base to attach the said gorgeous legs. And here's the finished piece. What do you guys think? If this was your piece, would you have left it simple like this? Or would you have done what I normally do, which is add glaze or wax or distress it a little bit, blend in some extra colors? I just didn't feel it needed it. With the gold accents, the legs, oh my gosh, I love the legs. What do you guys think? Normally I'm still thinking about putting some black wax on it just for kicks and giggles. You think I should leave it alone? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm curious what you would do if this was your piece. Play hard, peace out.